Listen, you need to hear this. Right now, as you're watching this, I want you to think about the person you promised yourself you'd become. The dream you keep in your back pocket. The life you keep waiting for. I was that person. I was the king of tomorrow. I'll start next week. The emperor of hitting snooze. And then for 30 days, I did something that felt impossible. I got up at 5 a.m. every single morning. No excuses, no negotiations. And it broke me before it built me. This is not a fairy tale. This is a war story. And I need you to understand something from the very start. This isn't about waking up early. This is about waking up, period. This is about what happens in the dark, in the silence, when the entire world is asleep and you are left alone with the truth of who you are and who you have been. This is about the 30 days that changed everything. Let me take you back to day one. The alarm screamed into the darkness. It was a violent sound. It felt like an attack. My body, my mind, my soul. Every single part of me revolted. The bed was a warm, seductive liar whispering every excuse I'd ever made. You're tired? You worked hard yesterday. Just 5 more minutes. You can start tomorrow. The room was pitch black, and so was my motivation. I had none, zero. I was running on empty before the day even began. But I had made a promise, not to a coach, not to a video, but to that forgotten version of myself I used to see in the mirror years ago. The one with fire in his eyes. So I swung my legs over the side of the bed. My feet hit the cold floor. And let me tell you something. That first contact with the cold hardwood, that was the first battle. And I won it. Not because I wanted to, but because I decided to. Discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is a decision you make the night before, and you honor it in the morning when every feeling is begging you to betray yourself. The first week was pure, unadulterated agony. It was a fog of resentment. I'd sit on my couch in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, staring into the nothingness, thinking, what in the world am I doing? Is this even worth it? I was tired. I was angry at myself for starting this. My eyes burned. My brain felt thick and slow. I'd brew coffee just to have something to do with my hands, just to feel some semblance of warmth in the vast, quiet cold of 5:15 a.m. And in that silence, all my demons showed up for a meeting. Fear sat right next to me. Self-doubt poured the coffee. Laziness was trying to sell me a timeshare back in my mattress. I was forced to sit with every thought I'd been avoiding by scrolling, by working late, by binge watching, by staying busy. In that empty hour, there was nowhere to hide. You ever sit alone with your own thoughts before the sun comes up? It's terrifying. It's the most honest conversation you'll ever have. You have to face the gaps between your dreams and your daily actions. You have to confront the excuses you've dressed up as reasons. And that's where the real work begins. Not in the morning routine videos, not in the perfect planner, but in that confrontation. Who are you? What do you truly want? And why haven't you gone after it with everything you have? By the middle of the second week, something subtle started to shift. The waking up didn't get easier, but it got a little stronger. The ritual began to take shape. I didn't just sit in the dark. I lit a single lamp. I opened a journal, not to write profound thoughts, but to dump the chaos in my head onto paper so it wouldn't swirl in my mind all day. I'd write 3 pages of pure, uncensored, ugly nonsense. My fears, my anxieties, my petty frustrations, I got it out of me. And what was left behind was a little bit of space, a tiny crack of clarity. Then I moved for 10 minutes. No fancy workout, just stretching, just feeling the blood move in a body that felt like a prison. And then I read, not the news, that's poison at 5:30 a.m., but a few pages of something that fed my spirit, not my fear. Maybe it was a biography. Maybe it was a book on philosophy. Something that reminded me that other people had fought bigger battles and won. This wasn't magic. This was mechanics. I was rebuilding myself from the inside out, one simple, stupid, consistent action at a time. I was depositing faith into an account of self-trust that had been bankrupt for years. Around day 18, I hit the wall. This is crucial. You will hit the wall. I was exhausted. A project at work was failing. I had an argument with someone I loved. The old me would have used that as the perfect, justified reason to sleep in. C, I have too much on my plate. I need the rest. That's the language of the old contract, the one that keeps you small. That night, as I set my alarm, it felt like an act of cruelty against myself. But I said it anyway. When it went off, I cried. I'm not ashamed to say it. I lay there with tears of frustration in my eyes. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to disappear into the pillows. But a whisper, fainter than the alarm, said, "This is the test. Getting up when you feel good is easy. Getting up when your world feels like it's crumbling. That's where character is forged. That's where you separate a wishbone from a backbone." I got up, not with energy, but I sat in my usual spot and I didn't do my routine. I just sat and I prayed. I said, "I don't have it today. You have to carry me." And I sat in that vulnerability, and a peace heavier than the fatigue settled on me. It was the peace of knowing I showed up for myself even when I had nothing to give. That day, I learned that discipline is also a form of self-love. It's loving yourself enough to not let you quit on you. The final week, this is where the glimpses began. The fog wasn't just lifting, I was rising above it. The exhaustion was still physical sometimes, but mentally, a new energy was humming. A clarity I had never known started to emerge. Because I had already won the biggest battle of my day, by 5:30 a.m., everything else felt smaller. The stressful email, the traffic, the unexpected problem, they lost their power to hijack my peace. I had already anchored my day in a victory. My mind, which used to feel like a browser with 100 tabs open, started to quiet. The constant static of anxiety began to fade because I was giving it dedicated time to process, to worry, to plan, to vent. In those morning pages, I was no longer carrying the mental load into my interactions. I was present. People noticed. "You seem calmer," they'd say. They didn't know I had already fought a war before breakfast. Confidence didn't come from a new title or new clothes. It came from self-respect. It came from looking in the mirror while shaving and holding the gaze of a man who kept his promises. When you start your day by honoring a commitment to yourself, you stop negotiating with your own mediocrity. You walk different. You speak different. You command your life instead of begging from it. I began to see time differently. Those 60, 90 minutes in the morning were mine, created, stolen back from the chaos of reaction. I wasn't just saving time, I was creating a different quality of time, a sacred time. And what you do in your sacred time ultimately defines the quality of your life. So what happened after 30 days? Let me tell you what really happened. The external world didn't magically transform. I didn't get a promotion on day 31. I didn't win the lottery. But the internal world, the kingdom inside of me, had a new ruler. Fear was no longer on the throne. Faith was. Not a religious faith, but a concrete, proven faith in myself. A knowing that I could do hard things. A knowing that I could show up when I didn't feel like it. A knowing that I was stronger than my strongest excuse. I discovered that motivation is a myth you've been sold. Motivation follows action. It does not precede it. You will never feel like getting up at 5 a.m. You have to decide the night before that your commitment is bigger than your feelings. Discipline is the vehicle. Motivation is just the occasional scenery you get to enjoy along the drive. I learned that winners are built in the dark. Champions are forged before dawn. While everyone else is dreaming, you are doing. While everyone else is storing up sleep, you are storing up strength, clarity, and purpose. That quiet hour is the furnace where ordinary metal is turned into steel. It's where you write the story of your day before the world starts writing it for you. The 5 a.m. alarm became my most faithful teacher. It taught me that everything you want is on the other side of a door labeled discomfort. It taught me that your life expands or contracts in direct proportion to your willingness to have uncomfortable conversations with yourself. It taught me that self-respect is the most powerful form of wealth. So I'm here now talking to you, and I see you. I see the fatigue in your spirit. I see the dream you've postponed. I see the potential you've numbed with distraction. I see you hitting snooze on your own life. And I have to ask you, what are you waiting for? What's the magic sign you're looking for? When is someday going to appear on your calendar? Let me save you the suspense, it won't. Someday is a disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you. You have a decision to make. A line in the sand. On one side is the person you are. On the other side is the person you are meant to be. And between you and that person is a cold floor at 5 a.m. and a series of mornings where you have to choose who you want to be more than you want the temporary comfort of a warm bed. This is your call to action. It's not gentle, it's urgent. Tonight, you will set your alarm for 5 a.m., not for me, for you. For the ghost of your future self who is begging you to show up. When that sound tears through the darkness tomorrow, you will be at the most important crossroads of your day. One path leads back into the warmth of the sheets and the slow, comfortable death of your potential. The other path leads to the cold floor, to the fight, to the silence, and to your destiny. Get up on faith. Get up on decision. Get up and own the day before it owns you. I don't care if you just sit there in the dark for 20 minutes. I don't care if all you do is drink water and stare at a wall. You win by putting your feet on the floor. You win by showing up in the arena of your own life before the crowd arrives, before the critics are awake. Do this for 30 days, not 29, 30. Through the tears, through the frustration, through the days you feel like a superhero and the days you feel like a failure. Show up, because on the other side of those 30 days, you won't just find a new routine. You'll find a new you, a you that you can trust, a you that you respect, a you that knows no obstacle is bigger than the will of someone who has conquered the morning. The sun doesn't rise for everyone. It rises for those who are already awake, already working, already claiming the day as their own. So what's it gonna be when you meet me in the morning? Tomorrow, 5 a.m., your future is waiting. Don't you dare be late.